Welcome to Modern Church Leader, a short daily show to help you grow your church, be more effective and efficient, and powerful for the kingdom of God.
Hi, I'm Ben Stapley, and I want to give you 8 tips about successfully launching a great communication strategy or plan. If you want more information about this strategy, go to benstapley.info/communication, and there you'll find out more information. The first step is this. You need to define what the resource allocation is going to look like. In other words, a church, think of it this way, as a communication pie. How are you going to cut up that pie, and how many pieces are you going to give to each ministry? Knowing that is the groundwork before you go anywhere else. And this isn't just a job for the communications manager or director. This is a job for the leadership because it's impacting the whole church. You need to figure out how you're going to communicate and cut up that pie and say, hey, you know what? We're going to give X amount of resources to family, and X amount of resources to kids, and X amount of resources to students. Once you start doing that, you have less pie left. And calling that out helps everybody understand how many resources they get. So that's the first decision, understanding how you're cutting the pie up. The second thing is communicating it. This is a little obvious, but I need to state it. It needs to be communicated, and it needs to be communicated in a way in which all parties hear about it at the same time. It could be something as simple as email, but sometimes it's also helpful in a face-to-face. The reason is this. If you don't do this, then sometimes I don't know that you know the same information. And when you share the information once with all those parties that are impacted, then we all know how the pie is cut up, and we all respect it. So I know that you're getting half of the pie, and I'm only getting a fourth of it, and we're all cool with this. Having that conversation, it's a hard one, but it's critical. If you don't have it, then everyone's just fighting over the pie individually, and we're all having this wrestling match, and we're working against each other instead of for each other. So understand it, and then communicate it. The next thing is this. I like the phrase, when working in a church setting, to use the phrase partners and not clients. If you come from a creative agency outside of the church, you probably use the term client. You're working for a client, which is understandable. But inside the church, if you use that language, hey, we're working with such the family client or the small group client. If you start to use that language in a church setting, it can become very professional and cold, the relationship. But if you use the word partner, then it conveys the understanding that we're working together on the same goal and we're not working against each other. It also conveys the fact that we're on equal sitting here. Sometimes in a church world, you could have the ministry and they're making requests for the creative or the communication department to execute, but they're not on equal footing. You have a big brother, a little brother, big sister, little sister syndrome. When you say we're partners here, it puts them both on the same footing. Which means sometimes the creative or the communicator may say, you know what, I need to push back on that request because I don't have the bandwidth to execute it. That partnership language gives them that chance to have that honest conversation about what it looks like. The next point would be this quarter or never. This quarter or never. So if I can't get to one of your requests during this quarter, Q1, Q2, Q3, then there's a likelihood that I won't be able to get to it to the next quarter. I call this out because sometimes you can tell a partner that you're working with, hey, we're going to get to that down the road. But in reality is, if I can't get to it now because we're in the Christmas season and it's taking up all my bandwidth, well, guess what? Next quarter, we have baptisms. And then the quarter after that, we have Easter. And then the quarter after that, we have fall launch. And then we come back to Christmas. So if I can't get to it in these 3 months, I'm not going to get to it in the next 3 months. So be aware of that, this quarter or never. The other thing I say is whenever you add, you have to subtract. Sometimes when you're launching a communication strategy in a team, you'll think about, hey, these are the 3 creative disciplines that we have right now. We do graphic design, we do Word, and we write copy. We also do photography. We want to add videography to it. Well, if you're going to add a discipline, you might need to consider dropping one because there's only so much bandwidth that your current team has, or you're going to have to raise that team and expand that team. So if you're going to add something onto the creative disciplines, you might need to subtract what you're doing just because they don't have the time to execute it. The next 2 points, these are kind of yin and yangs. They relate to each other, is this. One is always try to right-size the request. You can get a partner coming in and saying, hey, we need this full communication package. It's got to have social media. It's got to have paid advertisement. It's got to have a bulletin. It's got to have a web page. You say, that's incredible. What is it? Well, we're looking for someone else to volunteer onto the custodial team. Okay, your request is good. It's got merit, it's got value, but what you're asking for is a little too big. I'm going to right size that and bring it on down to match make sure the communication matches the request. This is oftentimes what you have to do, because oftentimes everyone sees the world through their own prism and they want a huge amount of resources, even though the request and the value might not be as big. So always try to right size the request for the partner. That's the yin. The yang is consider scaling up. It can be easy as a communication team to always say, no, I'm sorry, we have to do it less, a little later, a little farther, and you always are diminishing things. That's reality. But there are opportunities in which you can scale something up. Look for those opportunities and take it. Oftentimes, you know of a communication method or mode or way to bring greater value to the partner than they're unaware of. Speak into it and look for those chances, not just to say no, but look for those incredible opportunities to say yes. And then the last 8th point, is always explain rejection. No one likes to be rejected. It doesn't feel good. I'm sure we all remember those times when we asked somebody out in high school and they said no. Does not feel good. It feels even worse if you don't know why. Well, why didn't you reject me? What's the reason for? When a partner comes to a communication team and makes a request and you have to say no, there's a reason behind it. You need to communicate that. If not, then it's going to be a problem. I like to say this. Information vacuums are never filled in with positive truths. They're always filled in with negative assumptions. So if you say no, you don't say what the positive truth is. Well, it's because we have a bigger thing going on. We're launching a new campus, and that's taking all of our organizational effort. If you don't fill in that positive truth, they're going to have a negative assumption. They're going to say, it's just because they don't like me. It's because I forgot to get them a latte. I was at Starbucks, and now they're out to get me, or whatever the reason might be. So if you explain rejection, that'll make sure that the partner understands the why behind what you're saying, and they might not be overjoyed, but they'll at least understand it and will help them accept it. So those are my 8 tips about how to launch a communication strategy and plan. Again, if you want more information, benstapley.info/communication. You can find out more there.
Thanks for listening. Please review Modern Church Leader on Apple Podcasts and visit our website for more resources at tithe.ly or follow the links in the show notes.